Happy 4th of July, everybody, especially you guys here in America, and welcome to Blind Straight Exotics. Today, I wanted to talk to you guys, and it's kind of a little bit of a rant, but I wanted to talk to you guys about our freedom as reptile keepers here in America, and probably around the globe too, and how our actions directly affect our ability to maintain that freedom. So stay tuned. Everybody that owns a reptile loves them. Everybody that doesn't own a reptile is usually afraid of them. And the issue with our hobby, the reptile keeping hobby, and even some of the exotic animals trade in general, but I'm sticking to the reptile hobby because that's what I know, is that we are, I guess, kind of considered outsiders. People don't understand the animals we keep. They have been trained to be afraid of those animals. This girl here, I actually just got in yesterday, and she's about 5-6 years old. She's almost 9 pounds. And she is a puppy dog. And most people that have ever been around a snake would think that it was going to try to kill them. And that's unfortunate, but that's unfortunate for those people. The issue that I see most often is that some of those people are in positions of power where they're able to restrict the animals that us reptile keepers are allowed to own. And the only way to keep that from happening is to be responsible with the ones we are allowed to have, and to prevent our negligence as a community from bills and legislation being passed that prevents us from owning some of these species. I live right outside of Pittsburgh, and while this year there haven't been too many issues, or any that I've heard of, last year there's at least 3 cases that I can remember offhand of American alligators getting loose. And if anybody's from Pittsburgh or aware of the United States, it is freezing cold up here in the winter, and there is no way that an alligator would ever survive here. So the only way for there to be an alligator here is that somebody let it loose, or it accidentally got loose because somebody wasn't taking proper care of it. And it caused a lot of panic around this town, because there were so many found within a couple months over the summer, late spring and during the summer, and it caused sort of an uproar in our area. The Burmese Python issue in Florida is another good example. And that's only to name a few. I've actually read recently that there's issues with tegus now becoming invasive down there. Chameleons, which don't cause as big of an issue as the Burmese pythons would. They're invasive, and also green iguanas aren't natively from there. You know, Burmese pythons can get over 15 feet and weigh well over 100 pounds and lay 70 plus eggs. So when you introduce a species that's bigger than the apex predator in that area, which would be the American alligator, it causes an issue in the ecosystem. And not only that, it causes people to frown upon the reptile keeping hobby and the industry in general. And then it causes those people to pass legislature banning specific species from being able to be held in captivity in the United States. I've seen people purchase large tortoises, like a sulcata tortoise. These guys can live for over 70 years. They can get over 100 pounds. Outlive most of the people that decide to purchase them. And at some point they get so big that people either release those as well, or people stop taking care of them. So they're found by animal control living in squalor in these people's homes, or they're let loose And again, is another example of a species where maybe they don't become invasive. They're not spreading wildfire like Burmese pythons do in Florida, but they're not from here, and they're definitely too big to take care of for a lot of the people that decide to purchase them as these cute little hatchlings. They're cute when they're this big, but not when they're this big and they need a huge outdoor area to roam. Most reptiles have a pretty decent lifespan. Turtles and tortoises seem to live forever, and even my girl here can. These guys can live over 20 years as well. So owning reptiles, especially snakes and turtles and tortoises, are a kind of a lifelong investment. You need to have a plan for them. You need to plan that you're going to have them for a decent portion of your life, especially the people that are just buying them as pets and they're not going to become breeders and they're not going to be actively buying and selling these animals on a daily or weekly basis. If you're buying it as a pet, you need to do your research. You need to know how big it gets. You need to know how long it's going to live. You need to know the type of care it's going to require on a daily basis or a weekly basis. You need to know how big of an enclosure it's going to need, not only as a baby, but once it's full grown. You're going to need to know its diet, how often you have to feed it. Snakes, luckily, usually they're not more than once a week. Some of them are once every 2 weeks, and if you get a huge Burmese python, you can go for months without feeding some of them, depending on how big the meal is. But lizards, turtles, they usually need to be fed every day or every couple days. And it requires a lot more care and a lot more attention than awesome snakes do. I have been a reptile hobbyist, reptile keeper, whatever you want to say it, since I was in grade school. I'm 35 years old now, so probably for 30 years I have been a reptile hobbyist. I've had frogs, toads, turtles, chameleons, and now ball pythons. So I know the sort of stigma that goes along with it. I know what people say and what they think when they hear that, I own 20, 30 ball pythons at this point. Even my immediate family, they're kind of afraid to go in my basement, even though I bring them out all the time, have them in videos, and my 2-year-old plays with them, and she loves being around them, and they've never snapped at her, but people are still afraid of them. So I know the stigma around the hobby. So when something negative happens, like here in Pittsburgh, when there's an American alligator that gets loose, or multiple alligators that get loose from different areas around the city in a short period of time, it causes panic, and it causes people to look negatively upon this hobby. You need to know your limits of how much you can take care of any individual animal and how many animals you can take care of. And if you're having an issue keeping these animals healthy, keeping their cages clean, keeping them on a healthy diet, or keeping them in their enclosures, then you should probably not have that many animals, or you maybe shouldn't have any animals at all. And I know that this is an issue with dogs and cats as well, and I'm a dog and cat lover, I'm an animal lover in general, but the difference is dogs and cats are cute, and people like dogs and cats. They're warm, they're fluffy, they're more affectionate, and they're more widely liked around the globe than our reptiles are. So when somebody sees a stray cat running around the neighborhood, it's looked at as a nuisance, but people aren't scared of it. People can be scared of dogs, especially in this area. We have an issue, there's a lot of fear around pit bulls, but they aren't usually running around the neighborhood and scaring people. They're usually chained up and just owned by owners that don't take very good care of them. When you see an alligator walking down the street in the middle of Pittsburgh, it's scary as heck. And we need to minimize things like that happening as a community as much as we can. Because the last thing I want to see is that this issue gets so bad that politicians are trying to limit things as harmless as a ball python, having them limit what we can and can't import and export out of the country, having them limit how many reptiles or amphibians that we're allowed to own at any one given time. The United States was founded on the idea of having freedom, but freedom comes with responsibility, and we need to be responsible in the reptile hobby with keeping these wonderful animals. We need to get rid of the stigma of this being a hobby that's on the fringes. Honestly, a lot of the times when I talk to my friends, and I come from a middle class family, I'm pretty clean looking. I shower every day. I'm not dirty. My house is tidy. My animal room is kept clean. A lot of the opinions that I get from friends and family that aren't into this are that reptile keepers are dirty. My wife, she's not into the hobby. She understands it and she respects that I do it, and she loves that I love doing this. She's definitely afraid of snakes, but she'll humor me because she knows I love doing it. But I've taken her to local reptile shows, and she is always just kind of looks at the people like, they're kind of dirty looking, and I don't want people getting the wrong impression that we're just all dirty people in general as a hobby. I think we can do a better job of cleaning up our act. I think that we can do a better job of not hoarding animals anymore and making sure that we're only housing the amount of animals that we can properly take care of. I know at this point, I have a full-time job outside of reptile keeping, and I'm still able to handily take care of the amount of snakes I have and my 9-to-5 job. But I do know that, if my collection were to double, a collection of adults were to double, I'd probably have a hard time either taking care of them or doing my 9-to-5 job. So at some point, it's kind of a breaking point, and it would have to be a point in time where I decide, do I lower my collection, have less snakes so that it's easier to take care of, or do I start looking for a different type of job? I'm nowhere near that point right now, but it's something that all of us have to face. And if you aren't taking care of animals full time, and if you're not a breeder and this isn't your full-time job, and you have a 9-to-5 job and you're having trouble taking care of your reptiles and keeping them clean and keeping them healthy, then you probably need to get rid of some of those animals. And not by throwing them out in the backyard or letting them die in their own filth. It's by finding another owner who will buy them off of you, or finding a local animal rescue that will take it off your hands and try to find the proper home for it. Even if you own one reptile, one snake, one turtle, one lizard, you can't let it go outside. You can't release it into your backyard. You can't release it into the local stream. You need to find the proper home and the proper care for it. So find an animal rescue, find another owner, find some way to properly take care of it, because you can't do something irresponsible like throwing it out in your backyard and hoping to God that it lives. There's a local animal rescue here that has been, reptile animal rescue here that has been doing a pretty good job of posting animals online that people have given up for adoption. And it kills me when I see them post multiple images of Russian tortoises or redfoot tortoises that have escaped from their owners, that have been run over by lawnmowers. It's crazy to me. They shouldn't be outside in the wild anyways, and if somebody put them in an outdoor pen, they should have properly secured it so that it didn't have a way of digging out underneath their apparently shoddy enclosure work. That sort of stuff can't happen, and it puts the animal in danger as well as this whole entire hobby. So on this 4th of July, when you were celebrating your freedom as a country, maybe also think a little bit about keeping your freedom in the reptile hobby and what that means and how you can be responsible and how you can do your part to make sure that people don't try to take away our freedom and our ability to keep and love these awesome animals. This girl here is Princess, and I named her that because I used to have a male mystic potion, and this is a female mystic potion ball python, and I named him Prince because he was purple, purple rain. So I decided to name her Princess in memory of him. And she's huge. She's like 8.5 pounds, and she is puppy dog tame. And she was just shipped to me yesterday. There's really no way to describe how cool it is to have an animal this strong, to have an animal this misunderstood, and be able to hold her and just hang out with her like this and not be worried about what she's going to do or be afraid that she's going to hurt you. And this is how I want people outside of the profession to see and understand about these animals. And the only way to do that is for us to be good ambassadors for these guys and to raise up healthy animals and to be safe keepers and to not be irresponsible. And every time you have a positive interaction with somebody else in the community that's not in the reptile hobby is a step forward. My wife wouldn't go near these guys. She wouldn't look at them. She wouldn't even want to be in the same room as them when I first started getting back into them a year and a half ago. And while she's still afraid of them, it doesn't freak her out as much anymore because she's seen me hold them all the time. And she sees our 2-year-old around them and sees that they're not the vicious beasts that they're portrayed to be. So please, be responsible. Be realistic. Make sure that if you're looking to buy a reptile, that you know exactly what you need to do to take care of it. If you own a reptile and you don't want it anymore, please make sure that you find the right place to take it to so that it can find the proper home and not release it into the wild. And if you're a reptile keeper and you have a ton of animals and you're not able to keep up with taking care of them, if you're not able to feed them regularly or the proper diets, if you don't have them in the proper size enclosures, and you're not able to clean out their enclosures as needed, please scale back. Please sell some of your collection off so that they don't get loose, so they don't die, so that they're healthy and taken care of, or at least given to a home that can take better care of them than you. I know it's kind of a bitter pill to swallow to admit that you can't take care of them anymore, but it's not about you. It's about the animal. They didn't ask to be living in their filth. They didn't ask to be malnourished. You need to do what's right for them. That's it for today. Hopefully this is the last rant, the last soapbox I'm on for a while, and hopefully the next video is a little more lighthearted. That is it for us, and say bye, Princess. Say bye. I'll see you guys. Take care.